folks. Well, you're joining me on a bit of a solo road trip here. I am heading across the width of Ireland from Dublin to Kerry, and I'm going over to see a car that I may potentially be buying. The car in question is a 1974 original Irish MGB GT. And basically what happened was I was looking on Facebook at a couple of photos, as you do, and there was a yellow beetle posted by somebody on one of the VW clubs I'm on, and behind it was an MG, and I commented saying that God, I'd love another MG. I've had one in the past and I'll get into that now in a minute, but I said I would love another one. So no sooner had I said that, but a friend of mine, a guy I've known for years in VW circles, came back to me through Facebook Messenger and sent me a load of pictures of a car that he's had sitting outside his house for quite some time. Now, this car has been sitting up since 1991, apparently. So it is, it's tatty. It is a project, and I accept the fact that it's a project. However, it's not rotten. It's got rust issues, all right, yeah. I mean, as you can expect with a 1974 British car, but it's by no means rotten, and it's also small money. So I said to him initially, no way am I doing that. You know, I've enough projects on the go as it is, and you know, kind of tried to convince myself it was a bad idea. And then my wife chimed in and said to me, you know what, if you want it, go and get it. So if you get the permission, why not? So I think I might have found the right woman, you know that, folks. Thanks, Aoife. So here I am on my own. I left work and I'm heading cross country down to Kerry to meet with Mr. John Knightley, and we're going to come back now in a little while, and I'll introduce you to John, and hopefully we'll have a look around his area at a few of the cars he has. Now, the thing is, it's Friday now. It's Friday evening, but I'm not meeting him until Saturday, which is why I'm in the camper van. Because what I'm doing is I'm going down to Inch Beach in Kerry. I believe it's gone metric now, so it's 2.2 centimeters. Stupid jokes. Anyway, yeah. So I'm going to camp out in Inch Beach for the night, and I am going to get up fresh and early in the morning. Well, not that early. I'm not an early person. I'm not an early morning person, and I'm going to go and have a look at this car and see what it's like in the light of day. Because by the time I get down there, it's now 5:15. I'd say it'll be dark by the time I get there, because it's September now, and it'll probably be dark by about 8:30. So yeah. Anyway, let's see what this car has to offer. My own MG, the one I had previously, by the way, was a 1978 GT in British Racing Green, and I loved it, absolutely loved it. My affinity with MGs comes from my dad having several over the years, and I was actually brought home from the maternity hospital when I was born in an MGB. So maybe that's the reason why I have petrol in my veins, and I also you know, I particularly like British cars. Okay, I love VWs as well too, but yeah, I do have a thing for British cars too. I had a Mini up until recently as well, so just before I started making YouTube videos, incidentally. Finally, before we get to looking at this car, this van is misbehaving a little bit. The fuel pump does not seem to be happy, and I think what I'm going to have to do is take the fuel pump off and get it recalibrated, because it's bunny hopping, it's not idling cleanly, sometimes it's hunting a little bit during idling, and yeah, when you're stuck in traffic in it, it's awful, because transitioning from idle to power is awful. It's jerky. So luckily enough, this is a long run, you know, it's kind of motorway most of the way, so it's grand. So hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll be all right. Anyway, I'll bring you back tomorrow morning when we're having a look at the car. Well folks, it is now 9:30 at night and I left work at 4 o'clock and I've been pretty much on the road since then, so you can imagine I'm a little bit on the tired side of things, but I arrived safe and sound down at Inch Beach, and I was worried on the way down that like where I was actually going to camp. You know, when you have a camper van you have to kind of think of these things, but I arrived up and there was a little campsite on the right hand side with an automated barrier, and it was just perfect. I was just like, oh thank God for that. So I pulled in anyway. 20 quid for the night, not too bad. Got the fridge turned on, and there's a few cold beers in the fridge there with my name on them, so I'm going to go for a walk along Inch Beach and then come back, kick back, relax, a couple of beers and catch up on YouTube. So yeah, by the way, music recommendations. I've been listening to a bit of music down on the way down. A band called Teleman. They're an English indie rock band. The National, same thing, or Big Black Delta if you like a bit of electronic. So there's three band recommendations for you now for a bit of music. So yeah, I'll see you tomorrow. I'm going to have a couple of beers. Inch Strand is a spectacular strand in Kerry, somewhat ruined by this bloody racket going on. I hope that wanker shuts up at some stage. So I intend to get an early night tonight. Anyway, I can't see much now, but there's a whole line of camper vans and motorhomes all along the beach as well too. Well folks, we have arrived safely at the Knightley's Rusty Wonderland. And straight away, this is the other side of the super speedway that's a road outside their house. John declines to be filmed, and that's fair enough. Well, we're on the driveway and ta-da! Here she is, folks. 1974, original Irish MGB in Aconite, which is the name of the colour, i.e. purple. This car has been sitting up since 1991, and I only wish I could you could get the smell of the inside here, because it says it all. It brings me back so many years, and I have to laugh, it has a tow bar on it. I have never seen an MGB towing a trailer before, but there again, it has an 1800 B series engine, so it should be well capable of towing stuff. So what we need to do now is we need to go over it and actually find out just how solid this is. Now, John has told me it is solid, and I do believe him, but I want to see for myself and just see what kind of what to kind of expect when I get stuck into it. There's obviously the obvious ripples, and it's going to need some rear quarters. I mean, straight away you can kind of see down around the arches. There's definitely filler in there, but you know, look at, I mean, you know, it's a 1974 British car. If there wasn't any rust on it, it's because it's been kept in a vacuum its whole life. I'll tell you what, folks, I have driven much worse cars than this. Looking at the underside of it, this is a very solid car. I mean, yeah, there's a bit of surface rust, but like, I mean, look at that. Like, that's, you know, it's nothing I'm going to put my finger through there. Okay, so yeah, the you know, the sill there, you know, it's probably going to need a little bit of work, obviously. You know, I mean, most of the kind of the rot on this car is on the exterior panels. I would say the reason being is because of the fact that it literally has been kind of off the road for so long that road dirt and kind of spray wasn't getting at the underside of it. But the upshot of it all is basically that we have the makings of a very good car here, and to be honest with you, it's a good opportunity for me to learn to weld. I mean, look at it, all I have to do is just wire brush this and underseal it again, and that's basically it. Now what I'll do is I'll be pulling out the likes of the rear diff and the springs, replacing the bushings, take out the entire front subframe. And when the front subframe is out, I can do the brakes and the suspension steering on that, because it's all attached to it. And the thing about the front subframe as well is that there's also mounts on it, so they could be replaced. There's no brakes on this car whatsoever, and there's no pads. There's nothing fitted to it, if you know what I mean. Like, a lot of the parts have been removed, and I believe that what John was saying is that was just to make it roll easier. So that's all right anyway. I mean, we can source those bits. They needed to be replaced anyway, so that's not really the end of the world. Okay, so you know, look at, I mean, when you look at the likes of the closing panel there, you know, it's going to need to be replaced. There's been a patchwork job done on the bottom of the doors and the sill and that, so that'll need to be done. You know, these bits here, both sides, Yeah, I mean, look at it's exterior panel work that it needs, and you know, I mean, but the likes of the structure of the car is decent. It's all there. There's the master cylinder, which has been removed. You can see there's a bit of rot in there as well. You know, I mean, yeah, it's fair enough. But you know, most of the floor is fine in the boot. But there you have. The setting on my camera kept on turning it off there, so I've undone that setting. So just going back to what I was saying there, that's the rear of the boot floor. Again, needs a little bit of work, you know. But I mean, like, there's nothing on this car that would stop you from kind of driving it as it is, I suppose. I mean, she's not the prettiest girl at the ball at the moment, but you know, I mean, you'd be surprised how far a good coat of wax would go. You know, I mean, look at that. That's rock solid in there, like, you know, I mean. Like, you're not going to find too many MGBs in unrestored condition like that. Now looking at the engine. This is an 1800cc BMC B series engine, which I believe put out 95 horsepower. They're not slow by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, they're obviously not as fast as modern cars. Like, there's many modern cars that will outpace them very easily. But you have twin SU HIF4 carburetors. The HS4s had like the float bowl at the side. The HIF4 is horizontal integral float there's the 4s and 6s. I think the Minis had like the HS2 or HS3, so it was a smaller carb. But anyway, yeah, you have your float bowl in the bottom of these, and they're handy to work on in that respect. Actually, a little bit fiddlier to tune in a sense, but not that bad. The last MG I had, the 1978, had those same carbs. But it's all there. There's a new sparkulators in it, to quote Vice Grip Garage. Spark plugs for you anyway. Let's have a look at the coolant and see what's actually in there. Rusty water. Ow! Your finger. Not even. There's no rusty water in there. There's nothing in it. I might just throw a bit in it before we try and start it. Just throw even a bit of water in. Check the oil and see what's in it, because we're going to try and get this to start. Well, the fact that the battery hasn't fallen through the floor is always a good sign when it comes to MGs, and it's also a good sign that it doesn't have two 6-volt batteries in it, because some of them did, and that would have been a pain in the face. Now, the other thing about MGs is the fuel pump in them is a pain in the face. The fuel pump has points, believe it or not. So they very rarely work when they've been sitting up for a while, so it'll need to be rebuilt. My intention with this car is to keep it stone stock and original. I do not want to modify it in any way, shape or form. It's even going to keep the rubber bumpers and Ross style wheels, because I know some people say, well, a lot of people say they don't like them. I kind of do. I actually sort of think that the rubber bumpers do look well on them, when they're, you know, not covered in dust and years of debris. The tow bar will be coming off though. 19,367. Now that could just as easily be 119 or 219,367. But there again, it could be 19,000 as well too. It's always a good sign when it's showing oil pressure just sitting here and it hasn't been started for years as well too. So yeah, should be interesting now. See if we can get this beast running. One of the things I was really hoping for on this car is that it had overdrive, and it does. There's the overdrive unit there on the back of the gearbox. You can see the smaller square plate with the wire coming out of it. That's actually the solenoid that operates the overdrive mechanism. So we have to find out where the switch is for it. That's the only thing. It's probably in a bundle of wires disappeared down behind the dash somewhere. The exhaust is the shortened version as well too. So it's going to make a great noise when it starts, I can tell you. As far as the will it run section of this video is concerned, I thought I'd spare you the whole thing of trying to get the distributor back into position and get the firing order right. It's boring stuff. John is working away on it there now at the moment. He had taken the distributor out to get something else to run temporarily, so we're just reinstating that before we go any further. There's new spark plugs already in it as well, so there's also oil in it, such as it is. So we'll try and crank it over now in a little while. Battery is installed as well, so I think there's a good chance this will kick off pretty easily. You know, the only thing is maybe, you know, we have to make sure we get the firing order right and all that too. Okay, so we're having a bit of trouble getting a spark here. It's basically what's happening is we've the distributor in, but nothing's happening. There, John's hands there, working away. So he's taking out the distributor to take the points out. It's just handier that way. I put a meter across each side of the points, and we're getting like 96 ohms. So if you're getting resistance that high when you're trying to get a spark, you're at nothing. So what we need to see is a short circuit basically. So we're looking for you can see there now on the points, like if we actually open them now, well, the fact that they're barely opening might, oh, they are opening alright, but let's see now, yeah, they're pretty scabby looking alright. So what we'll do is we'll clean them up with a bit of emery and we'll see how we get on, and maybe just set the gap on them a bit better. Okay, so I cleaned up the points there anyway. We took them out, and you can see there that they're looking a lot better. But when we close them up now, and we stick the meter across both sides of them, your meter there is going down to 0.7 ohms. That's basically nothing. So we're good to go on that in that respect. So we'll pop them back in, and hopefully we should have a bit more success in this instance. I think that was our main problem with the firing, because we are getting power to the coil. And if you're getting power to the coil and your points aren't working, you're not shorting out the coil basically, and that's what happens is you're lifting the ground of the coil, and then that sends the high voltage pulse down to the spark plugs, which is what jumps the gap. So that's where our issue is. So once we have spark, then we need to look at fuel. So the carbs, apparently, like this engine, it was running, but you know, we need to have a look and see how well it runs. So let's continue on and get these points reinstalled. Okay, so we've got spark. We have poured a bit of petrol down the carb. So do you want to give her a crack, John, and see what it does? It sounds like it's got nice even compression anyway. Oh, come on, baby. She wants it. Okay, let's see. Might be the float bowl is empty there now. Okay, now let's have a look and see.
Ready?
Yeah, when you're ready. Stand away from the carbs, because in case it spits. Oh, come on, it's nearly there. Yeah, it's like the float bowls aren't filling, you know that? No, it's not. Wouldn't take a huge amount to connect it, mind. But here, hang on. Okay, try it now. I'm holding the choke open, or closed even. Try the accelerator bit. Battery's giving out on us. Okay, so the fuel hose definitely wasn't in great order, so we put a new piece of fuel hose on, and it was just the one from the temporary tank. It got pinched somehow. So anyway, what was happening is it was kicking on the fuel we were putting in the carburetor, but it wasn't staying running on the stuff that we have in the tank. Well, I'm ready when you are, John. Yeah, you can see the float bowl is leaking on the back carburetor there. Oh, that's much better. Just helping it on its way. I was just advancing the timing a little bit there. It was too retarding the timing. I think it was too far advanced. Okay, try it again there now. Okay. I think we're going to need a new battery at this stage. No, well, we get it in the ballpark. We could actually set the timing properly, but where's the fun in that? Yeah, okay, we'll do that. We'll get it. We'll rotate the engine over to its timing mark. You'll see the timing mark down there on the. You actually see if we can get it there on the camera. There's like these little prongs on the side of the pulley, stuck to the block. You can just about see them there. And turn the light on the camera. There you go. And there's a notch that lines up. So 0, 5, 10, 15 and 20 degrees on those prongs. So we're going to line it up with 10 degrees and it should get us in the ballpark of running. Right, now let's have a go. With a new yeah, we're closer to the mark now. Well, we're running on at least 2 cylinders anyway. So I'd say one of the carbs just hasn't picked up yet, you know that? It sounds like the valves might be getting stuck. Yeah. Is it dying itself or are you
It's dying.
I wonder. Is it possible we have the firing order wrong? Right, right, I think they're 1432, you know that? Yeah, right, we'll swap 4 and 3 anyway and see how we get on. Okay, so go for it now and see how we get on. A wee bit of crankcase flow by. No, it's not doing anything. Yeah. Yeah, there's plenty of vapour coming out through that oil breather. You know what? Mr. Google is going to help us here. I'm going to find out what the firing order is and we're going to get it right. Because, yeah. Okay. We'll try it there and see how we get on now. We did have the firing order right, actually. 1342. It does sound like it's down in compression on the cylinder now. I'll try a bit of choke. Yeah, it's like it's starving itself of fuel once it gets going. Okay, stop for a second, John. You know what? I'm concerned about the fact that it sounds to me like it's losing compression, and not to mention the fact that we're getting petrol all over the bloody place here. It's because it definitely had more compression than it does now, so it's like it's losing 2 cylinders.
You see it pumping in here.
Yeah, it's pumping when you're turning the key.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So if disconnected back in might.
I'd say the nasty fuel that's in that tank.
Be dead old petrol.
Yeah, I don't think I'd even try and put. Do you know what? Maybe we should do is maybe put a little bit of oil down those cylinders. But look at them in the gap coming out. The valves might be tight.
Yeah, it's possible because like I said, she's been parked up with years, you know.
Yeah. Is your oil pressure light going out?
Is it even coming on?
There's a gauge. There's a gauge actually.
Yeah.
It's a capillary gauge at least. Yeah. The gauge is moving, is it?
Yeah.
Okay, well then we're getting something.
Well, she's firing on this one anyway.
Okay.
She's warm. Yeah, she's warm.
Trying to get the bloody thing back on now.
There's a little pin in there.
Yeah, I'll do it off camera.
Yeah, she's firing on that one.
Well, see, the fuel has to go through one carb to get to the other.
Yeah. Yeah, he's cold.
Okay, so number 2 cylinder is not ideal. Drop of oil down the cylinders.
Yeah, and he's cold.
Okay, so 1 and 2 aren't firing, 3 and 4 are.
You've probably got sticky rings or something.
Excuse me.
Sticky ring.
Oh. Alright. We'll get there. Okay, we have a bit of oil down the cylinders there now anyway, so that should help with compression a little bit if nothing else. It smacks of sticking valves to me.
Don't know, we're going to get them. getting no fuel, is it?
Yeah, I think it's compression personally. I think the compression is down on it because it wasn't sounding like that when we started at it. Now it's starting to kind of like what we could maybe look at doing is just freeing off the valves a little bit. I mean, pulling the rocket cover on this is not exactly a massive job. What do you reckon?
Yeah, we'll give it that. I've stuck on that bit.
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah.
You moved the distributor?
A little bit. To me, I think we're just kicking this engine's arse now. You know, and the problem is, it's not going to thank us for it. What do you reckon?
We can pop the rocket cover off.
We may as well, because at least if it's a stuck valve or something like that, then we'll know.
You'll see it, yeah.
Yeah. Now, mind you, like you'll be sticking a little bit. There's plenty of clearance between the valve and the piston. It could be sticking a little bit without actually hitting the piston.
It, yeah.
Okay, so we obviously have the rocket cover off here now anyway. It's good to see there's oil up this end anyway, because if there wasn't, that would be a concern. But what we really want to do now is kind of crank the engine over and see if... I'll pull the centre HT lead off here, John, so it doesn't actually try and start on us. Not that it's bloody well likely to do anyway. But we want to see if all the valves are moving. Okay. All the valves are moving. Okay, so we don't have a valve that's stuck down or anything, not by any great amount. I kind of wanted to see that because that would explain the compression. Now, granted, okay, you could get one of the rings could be dirty, you know, just got a bit of filth stuck in it. So yeah, but you know, it's not the smoking gun we're looking for, kind of thing. Okay, what we're doing now is we're actually going to put a fuel pump on because we're kind of thinking that the reason it's not staying running is because it's not, you know, the carbs need a little bit of fuel pressure and they're not getting it. So we were literally just gravity feeding it. So we have a little facet fuel pump there, which is more or less the same kind of operation as it's a pulse pump in the same way as the stock fuel pump is out of these. Although the stock fuel pump is a big ignorant joke. On MGs, and it's going to be great fun. You'll see that in a future video when I go to try and fix it. Much future video. So there we go. So now we need to connect that up somewhere. She's flooding through one of the carbs. See there, okay, I'd let that off. All that's happening now is it's pushing straight up the jet the whole time. So what's happening there is we could take the float chamber off and see if it's just gummed up or whatever. But the needle is not seating. So that's certainly not going to help our cause. So we want to try it again and see if we get it to run a bit first. So I'll pump a bit of fuel in. So we have a little facet pump set up now. So I'm just pulsing it every so often now, because it'll just pump away merrily otherwise.
Right.
Yeah, when you're ready. Okay, so have a look at this now when I run the fuel pump, and you will see exactly what our issue is. Look at that. You're never going to get the engine to run so long as that's happening. So all that's happening there is the float in the carburetor is not sealing. So what we're going to do is we're actually just going to take the carbs off and we're going to have a look. If we can fix them here now and get them running well and good, if not, then we'll just leave them off and throw them in the boot, and then that'll be a job for another time. Okay, so we have the float out, and there's a little kind of the pin actually is threaded on one end and it just kind of goes in the side of the carb there. So that takes the float out, and that's our needle valve there, right? Now, what could be happening here is the needle valve could be stuck. So what we're going to do is we're going to take that out and have a look and see what the issue is, and hopefully we can rectify the situation. You can see the float bowl it's pretty cruddy, you know. I'll try and scrape some of that gack out of there, but if that's stuck open, what'll happen is the float bowl will overfill and it'll force fuel in through that jet. That's the pickup pipe basically for the jet. There's only a single jet in these carbs, so it'll force the fuel up through the jet and out into the throat of the carburetor, which is exactly what's happening. So now that we have access here, we'll have a look, and I'll do both, because what could be happening with the other carb is the float could be stuck shut, because it seems to be only firing on 2 cylinders. So it's flooding these 2 cylinders, and these 2 cylinders aren't working at all, which seems to be the case. So let's get that removed next. Okay, so what I did was I took out the jet. It's an 1132 socket. You need to take that out, or not the jet, the needle valve and seat, and it seemed all right. There didn't seem to be any dirt in it. I blew through it, and when I pushed it in, it sealed all right. So my thinking is the little brass tab here was bent back, so I bent it back into position. So now in that position there, the float is actually, I remember now what way this is. I'm trying to remember. It's supposed to be level with the yeah. So we just need to bend it back a little bit, and then you can do it in situ kind of thing. So I'll do that. I'll bend it back so it's just back a little bit, and then that will allow enough space for the thing to pick up. To be honest with you, I'd say it'll work the way it is. Let's just get it back together again and get it back on the car. I'm going to have a look at this one as well and make sure it's not stuck or or full of gack or something like that, because if the jet is blocked or something like that, that could be the reason why those two cylinders aren't firing. Okay, so looking in this one, the jet is well and truly blocked on that, so that's the problem there. There was a big bunch of crap stuck in it. So what I'm going to do is you can undo that screw and then just pull the jet out. We'll just blow it out and clean that as well too. I mean, look at this, caked thick with dirt and filth. Now there is petrol in there, but I mean that's not much use if you can't get it back out again. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm not going to get into an explanation as to how these carbs actually work at the moment, simply because of the fact that it'll take too long, and we just I'm conscious of this video getting on a bit. But suffice it to say, they're cleaned out a little bit better now anyway, and we should be a bit better off. So yeah, but basically what happens is you're in order to adjust the mixture, you're raising and lowering that jet by using a screw here, which adjusts a leverage point. So I didn't adjust anything there, so that should still go back to the original position it was at, assuming it was right in the first instance, of course. So let's get the covers back on. That float seems to be working, so I'm not going to go and upset that one. That one now seems to be slightly better adjusted, and hopefully will do the business for us. What we do is basically we'll blow through the fuel inlet and turn it upside down, and if the fuel cuts off when you turn it upside down, then we're in business. So right, let's get the covers back on and refit them to the car. Okay, John is just reattaching the accelerator cable there now, and we're going to give it a go. Unfortunately, whatever it is about the back carburetor, it's still leaking into the throat when I put fuel onto it. Now, maybe that particular fuel pump is putting in too much pressure. That could be part of the problem. But it's only doing it on one carb, so it's kind of a funny one. So yeah, it goes through there, John. Yeah, so what we're going to do is, now that the jet's cleared out in the number 1 carb, we might have more success. Once the engine's running, hopefully the float bowl won't be spilling over as much. It might flood the engine a little bit, but I suppose it remains to be seen. So next thing to do is just to crank it over, and we should look. What do you reckon, John? Do we need to change the battery first, or we give it a go first?
I would give it a go.
Yeah, see what happens.
Give it a go, yeah. Right, what about the old pumpage?
Okay, we'll give it a go. Yeah. All right, well, ready when you are. Right. I didn't keep the fuel pump running because I was afraid of drowning us.
Yeah.
Come on, try it again there and see what happens. Okay, so it starts and runs to a degree. Sorry?
Has good oil pressure.
Yeah, that's definitely a good start. So it probably needs some top end work and a good carb rebuild, and proper timing adjustments. It's blowing out a lot of crap from the exhaust and that as well, and not to mention the fact that I'm getting sprayed with a fine mist of some nondescript fluid. So what exactly that is, I'm not entirely sure. I think it might be fuel. But there again, it could be the radiator core is leaking and the fan is actually blowing stuff through the radiator core. I think that's actually what's happening. Ah, yeah, it's going to need a radiator too, probably. Look, we always knew this was going to be a project, but it's all there. So I suppose all that's left to do is to pay the man. So I'm going to take it, and I'm going to get it home, and I'm going to give it some TLC, and we're going to see what we can turn this car into. It's going to get a full mechanical overhaul before I go near the bodywork. All I'll do is I'll just polish up the bodywork and get it out on the road, and yeah, it'll look basically the same. But to be honest with you, the mechanical overhaul is the kind of the thing I'm looking forward to doing in a way. Bodywork, I will maybe try and do a bit of welding on it myself if I can kind of learn to weld, and if I can bring myself to giving it a belt of the old MIG welder, see what happens. But I'm hopeless at welding, so there's a bit of a learning curve there for me. But no time like the present. So yeah. So thanks for watching, folks. And looking at myself in the camera, and I realise I've got dirt all around my mouth from probably God knows how I did that. So look, we'll leave it there, folks. Thanks very much for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll get stuck into this project and have plenty more stuff on the way as well too. So I'll see you in a future video. Thanks for watching.